Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome back to week 2 and our second section about pricing. This is the second section of chapter 25. We have 3 main objectives today. We're going to list the 4 factors that affect pricing, price planning, and then we're going to talk about demand and supply theory again. By the end of this, you guys should be really ready for econ if you're a junior next year. And if you're going through it already, then it'll be a little bit of a review. Then we're going to talk about government regulations and how they have affected price planning. So heart of the matter, pricing requires the examination of many factors. We're going to look at different aspects, whether it's the cost of the goods, what our competition is doing, and then if you skip one little aspect of this, you can cost a company millions of dollars in lost sales, fines, and or lawsuits. So here's your vocabulary. As always, we'll go through it as we go along. And then right off the bat, here are your 4 factors that affect price. Your costs and expenses, the inputs to actually make or create the product. What does it cost to have someone put it on the floor if you're a supermarket, or cut up the meat if you're in a deli? Supply and demand. What is the supply of the product and what is the demand coming through? How do people perceive it and what's the competition like? And then on the flip side of that, legal and ethical considerations, price fixing, discrimination, resale price maintenance, and price advertising. And we'll talk about those in a little bit. But first, these. Costs and expenses. Your break-even point. This is the point at which revenue, money coming in, equals the costs and expenses of making and distributing said product. Now, there are a number of different ways to calculate this. We're not worried about that in this class, and that's probably not something you're going to have to deal with until later on in college. We're just going to know and recognize that we need to be able to make enough of said product to make an actual profit, and we need to be able to sell, more than our expenses. Obviously, our revenue needs to be more than all of our expenses so that we have a break even and then make some actual profit. And you can see this graph in the middle here actually detailing that. So as part of maintaining a price and maintaining a product, costs are going to go up and go down. If our product has something in it like oil, which all plastics are made from some form of oil, then you're going to have to respond to that price as it increases or as it decreases. And there are a bunch of different ways to do that. All right, supply and demand, demand elasticity, and the law of diminishing marginal utility. Now, I believe in the first chapters of our class, we talked about products that are elastic and inelastic and how much the demand of the product responds to a change in price. Demand elasticity is taking both of those concepts and just putting it together with new wording, right? The degree to which demand for a product is affected by its price or a change in its price. And then we have the law of diminishing marginal utility. And that is an economic law that states that consumers will buy only so much of a given product, even if the price is low. The thought being is that eventually you have enough of a product and you're no longer interested or wanting that product anymore, and your demand, the utility of that product goes down to nothing, right? You can think of utility almost as like its value, right? What is the utility of it? A good example of that would be at some point or another, you're going to have enough pairs of jeans, right? It might be 10 for some of us. It might be 20 for other people. But at some point, you're like, I don't need any more jeans. I got a closet full of jeans. I don't want any more. That's what happens. Here is a little meme about that, right? Diminishing margin utility. Nikes don't do that, right? It's almost like saying, hey, no matter how many pairs of Nikes, right, I have, I will always want more. I kind of feel this way about watches, but just a little meme there. All right. So, 5 factors, and stop me at any point in time if I'm going fast. I haven't done this in a while. 5 factors that influence demand elasticity. They are brand loyalty, urgency of a purchase, price relative to income, luxury versus necessity, availability of substitutes. So these will impact the degree to which demand for a product is affected by its price. Brand loyalty. Always buy Apple computers rather than PCs. Urgency. Airline loses luggage while on a trip to Europe. So, right, suddenly you have an urgency to buy new clothes. Price relative to income. Senior citizen on Social Security stops going to a movie when prices increase because they're on a fixed income, right? Every month they get a check. That is all the money that they get when they're on Social Security. So if the price of movies goes beyond what their budget allows, well, there's no more movies for them. Luxury versus necessity. Formulas. Infants need formula. That they don't drink milk the first year of their life, they drink formula. So that is not a luxury, it is a necessity. And then the availability of a substitute. If the price of butter rises, some consumers will switch to margarine. And that kind of goes along with everything, even inelastic items. When the price of gasoline was at $5, $6, and $7, people stopped buying trucks and started buying high efficiency cars because they were trying to figure out how to afford the price of gas. Now gas has gone down and we have electric vehicles pulling some of the demand for gasoline away, and that is kind of changing the market, keeping gas prices low, and we're selling tons of trucks now. All right, consumer perceptions. And I should put a box around that. Quality equals price. Service adds to perception about that price, right? We have certain price, and we talked about this in the last section between Toyota and BMW and where they stand for various levels of quality and drivability and enjoyment and status, right? There's all these different factors that tie in to our perception that affect the price of these two vehicles. With Toyota, we're thinking about value. We want a good dollar for the price. And for BMW, we're willing to pay more, primarily because it's a BMW. Competition. Non-price competition minimizes price as a reason for purchase, and battles to attract customer can result in price wars. And talk about that in a minute. Or actually, I'm sorry, we talked about that last section when we talked about price and price wars. Supply, demand, supply, and equilibrium price. Sorry about that. So I'm going to go to this one real quick. But the best way to think about it is your supply curve is always going to move from the left side of your graph to the right side. And your demand curve is always going to do the opposite. It's going to move from the left to the right. And our equilibrium price point is always going to be in the middle. And this is the number of athletic shoes and the price of those shoes. So, and you can see it as well as the supply. And where those two meet. All right, halfway done. Factors that affect price and legal and ethical considerations in pricing. So we have a bunch of considerations that are part legal, part ethical when it comes to pricing. Price fixing is a situation that occurs when competitors agree on a certain price ranges within which they set their own prices. Now, honestly, this kind of happens automatically. That's kind of what a market does. As people buy from one place and don't buy from another one, prices are going to adjust. We kind of have a gauge on what the price of certain things should be. People aren't likely to pay for a $30 cheeseburger, right? But a $30 lobster tail might seem normal. we'll kind of have that gauge, and the market takes care of that naturally. But what does happen that becomes an issue is when companies work together to set a price. And that's when we have things like lawsuits when people find out, and various other issues that can occur. People are sued, they're fined, companies close because they agree to try and take advantage of the customer by working together. That is purely illegal. Price discrimination. When a firm charges different prices to similar customers in similar situations. Banks, for example, are required to kind of have interest rates at certain levels for certain levels of risk, and they have to take out the different prices that they might charge to different customers. What do I mean? Let me kind of narrow it down a little bit. If someone, you can't change the interest rate on a mortgage for one person for reasons that aren't related to risk. All right, that's what a bank is doing when they give away a mortgage. They're just trying to get their money paid, and they're using that interest rate, or they're issuing an interest rate based on the risk of the loan for the house. Now, they have flexibility and they have reasons why they can make one rate higher for a customer than the other, like, hey, this person's credit score is different, right? It's lower, therefore we charge them more. Or, hey, this person is putting less down than the other person, but they can't do things. Those customers are not in similar situations. They are dissimilar, right? But they can't say, hey, this person, I'm charging this person more over here and this person over here less because I like this person over here less. There has to be firm reasons why that we make different pricing decisions. So, and then unit pricing. Pricing that allows consumers to compare price in relation to a standard unit or measure, right? Yogurt comes in 18 ounces, 16 ounces, 20 ounces, and they're all different prices. We have zero ability to compare at that point, and that's why the unit price will tell you what is the price per ounce, and that is what becomes kind of critical. So I know I stopped early, but we'll get the rest in a minute. So where legal companies can use popular advertised products as loss leaders, an item priced at or below cost to draw customers to a store. That's your formal definition of a loss leader. Great example, Costco chicken. $4.99 for a beautiful rotisserie chicken. It's been this price since 2009. Since then, 91 million chickens have been sold. 91 million were sold in 2018. They have a Facebook page with 13,000 followers. Just the chicken, not Costco. It's Costco chicken. They sacrifice $30 to $40 million a year in profit margin relative, so that's comparing what their profit margin is on the rest of their items to the chicken, in order to keep the price point where it is. That chicken is in the back of the store. You have to walk by everything else in the store to get to it. And it's incredibly popular. There's the chicken. Here's the Facebook page. But here's what I thought was really interesting when I read this story a year ago, was that Costco went as far as to go in, and actually look at that, 18,000 people now like it. But anyways, all right, sorry. Costco has spent $300 million getting into the chicken business. They're raising their own chickens. They bought their own slaughterhouses so that they can cut the cost or the loss on that profit margin down. That's how much they value this loss leader to bring people in. All right, so here are some FTC, and the FTC is the Federal Trade Commission. Make sure you know that. And they have issued some guidelines for advertising prices. You cannot advertise a price reduction unless product was previously offered at the original price. So at some point in time, I have to offer the price at $10, before saying I'm giving a 50% discount and selling it at $5. This often comes up. People feel like Amazon's prices are never actually offered at the original price. According to the FTC, it must have been in order for them to provide the discount. You cannot say your prices are lower than the competitor's price without proof. You can't say it unless you're going to post it, mean it, do it, and act on it. And then you cannot use a pre-marked or list price as a reference for a sale price unless item was actually sold at that price. It's like saying I can't randomly change my pricing stickers on the price. I need to actually maintain a stickered listed price and discount from that point. And then you cannot use bait and switch advertising. I can't say, hey, this is on sale, and then when you walk into the store, I don't have any, but I have this product over here, and I'm like, no, look over here, look over here. And that's why you say things like rain checks, where you can get a rain check for when the product comes back in, you can get the same discount. Or they say things like limited a quantity on hand. And then you have things like Black Friday, where they have 2 of the biggest, hottest sale items. So acts that you should know. In 1890, the Sherman Act banned monopolies and price fixing. The Clayton Antitrust Act of 1914 defined price discrimination as creating unfair competition. So that is not allowing companies to compete. The Robinson-Pittman Act passed in 1936 that prohibits sellers from offering one customer one price, another customer a different price, almost like price discrimination. And then minimum price laws prevent large companies from selling products at very low prices. These are state by state, and some states do not have these laws at all, in which case they have loss leaders. Another great loss leader, Walmart. When you walk into that center aisle in Walmart and you see things like rollbacks and price discounts, a lot of those items are there designed to create loss leaders. Walmart might lose money in it on the item, but they're getting people to walk down the aisles, look at all those steep discounts, and get people through the rest of the store. So I'm going to leave these up for like 30 more seconds, and then we'll move on. And we're back. Last slide coming up. So last few vocab words here. Resale price maintenance, unfair trade practices, price advertising, price ethics. So resale price maintenance is an arrangement where a reseller agrees that they will sell products at certain prices. These can have what's called a floor and a ceiling. So Ford might sell a F-150 to its dealers and say, hey, there is a floor. You cannot sell this truck below this price. And they might also have a ceiling where they say, hey, you cannot sell this truck above this price. Now, at one point in time in the 20th century, these were illegal, but a number of Supreme Court cases have kind of said there's this rule of reason where we're going to use logic and just common sense in order to have this law on the books. However, the flip side of this is that there are a lot of state-by-state antitrust laws that supersede or go beyond federal laws, and those laws are standing and on the books. So there are some states where you do have this and other states where you do not. Unfair trade practices, they can be defined as any business practice or act that is deceptive, fraudulent, or causes injury to a customer. And a lot of what we've been talking about here are just all unfair trade practices. Price advertising, that is what you see in the papers online. That is all of the advertising used to say, hey, something is on sale, there's a deal, there's a promotion, whatever that is. And then price ethics involves examining what constraints are needed on the pursuit of market share and profits when the actions of a company may affect others adversely. And the example I like to use for price ethics most recently is insulin. There is not and has not been competition for insulin injectors for the longest time, and out of nowhere, a company that makes insulin decides to increase pricing by something like 1,000%. It was absolutely ridiculous. Their costs had not gone up. They had a monopoly on the whole industry, and they just kind of randomly, well, probably not that randomly, it's probably more involving corporate profits, decided that they were going to put everyone at risk and increase insulin prices. And this started a significant amount of backlash, and I believe at one point the CEO was actually fired. But that might be worth looking up. Get an update to you guys on that. All right. But that is the end of this section. I'm going to leave this up here. We can pause it. But at this point, we're done with chapter 25. Not that long of a chapter. Chapter 26 kind of follows some of the same pattern. And then we've completed our first 2 chapters of the next semester. And we're well on our way to finishing up the back half of this course, which is kind of neat. The other thing is we're finishing up our integrated marketing presentations, integrated marketing campaign presentations, and we'll have those done in the next 5 weeks, I believe, which is awesome. So on that note, have a great day and welcome back again.